name is JudyArriaga. I am the Student Support Specialist at Austin Community College in Austin, Texas for the Accelerated Programmer Training Program and the Women in IT. I am a former ACC student, also a veteran of the United States Army. After graduating from ACC, I went on to Texas State, where I completed my bachelor's in business administration and my MBA. And I returned to ACC after doing some work in the private sector for, I guess, about 10 years. And then I decided to return to ACC and work with the CBE program. I work with all of the students that have been accepted to the program. We start off with the interview process. They have to complete some intake questions to sort of weed out the people that are inappropriate. Then after we determine that they are more than likely appropriate, we schedule an interview with them. And they come in, and basically the interview is to determine the student's goals. We start with the end in mind. We look at what they want to do, what they're trying to accomplish, what award plan or award track they are pursuing. And then my role is to assist them through the program and guide them by selecting the right courses in the right order, giving them information, insight, and ensuring their success in the overall completion of the program. When we're selecting students, one of the first things we want to determine is the student's major. If they are a student that is initially just wanting to transfer on to a four-year university, that pretty much disqualifies them immediately. We are looking for students currently that are seeking to complete either a certificate or an Associate of Applied Science degree, and then take and utilize those skills and immediately obtain work. At Austin Community College, the typical CBE student comes in, so I'd say about 70% of the students already have a college degree, and that can range anywhere from an associate's all the way through PhD or MD. We have a couple of lawyers actually in the program. Several students have bachelor's and master's, and a few with PhDs. And about 6 or 7% have already some sort of certification related to the field that they're working in, but they're still just wanting to obtain additional skills that may be needed for perhaps a new position or a higher level position. So a lot of the students are taking the skills that they have from their prior education and needing to obtain some sort of programming knowledge to enhance their current position or further their careers. The importance of having a student support specialist in a CBE program is monumental. Otherwise, it's really basically no different than a student who's taking traditional distance learning courses. With the student support specialist, you have someone who is pretty much a hands-on advisor who gives them feedback. Throughout the semester, we remind them when it's time for registration. We remind them when it's time for graduation. We also give them a lot of insight about what to expect in the courses that they're going to register for, what the workload is like. We take a deeper look at the individual, and we take into consideration what their lifestyle is, what other obligations they have outside of school, and we try to use all of those different areas to determine what a student can really take on at one time in the semester that they're registering for, because overloading a student, or sometimes maybe students don't have a real insight as to the expectations. We try to give them real expectations, and that way they don't perhaps overestimate the capacity of the workload that they're going to be taking on. I'd rather have a student take fewer courses and be successful and really have an opportunity to comprehend all of the competencies covered in the course versus having to cram in a bunch of information, barely pass, and perhaps not even retain some of the information. as an academic coach, I guess that was my role or my title when I first started. We just changed it to student support specialist. It's kind of, in my mind, they're the same thing. But one of the things that I do is I actually look at their prior education and make sure that they get credit for courses that they've already completed, and submit those substitutions, because that will expedite the process for them. Additionally, I take the time to plan for future semesters. So if a student perhaps is taking courses to complete the database certificate or the C++ certificate, I know which courses are going to be offered in the future semesters, and perhaps they're getting very close to completion and they need the database administration course, that they need the advanced C++ course, and they also have the project management course remaining. And they may send me a request saying in the spring that they want to take the project management, but yet I can see that they still have that course remaining out there that's not going to be offered in the summer, and I will make recommendations. By the way, this course is not offered in the summer. Perhaps you should, change your course schedule around and take, the DBA course or the Advanced C++ in the spring, which is offered then but not in the summer, and postpone project management to the summer when it is offered as well. And I think that is really appreciated by students, because they don't always have that insight of what's going to be offered in the summer schedules, and it would have postponed their completion of their certificate or award plan to the fall semester. So it is almost like a 6 months difference for them. Another thing that I do that students, I guess, don't even realize, we have a Marketable Skills Award certificate, and also a lot of students who are working towards degrees don't realize that there are certificates that are subsets of degrees. So I tend to look into that. Every semester I request all of the MSAs, the Marketable Skills Awards in networking and computer programming for our students, and I make sure we obtain those and we'll give those to students, because it's sort of a motivator. They've accomplished something. Additionally, for students who are working towards a degree, I always look if they're doing a software testing specialization, associate applied science, there is a certificate for that particular degree, so I will let them know if they're only a course away, and then we go through the whole process of graduation, and then they obtain that certificate, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. They will have something to show for their work, and again, I think it's sort of a motivator. It gives them something that they've accomplished, and in a way it inspires them to continue. Some of the typical challenges for students in the CBE program are ones that I really try to take care of up front. Taking on too much at one time, not having realistic expectations or an understanding of the workload that's going to be involved, because you're not going to a classroom setting, so there is more time spent on homework. There is quite a bit of value of attending a class, but students sometimes forget about that, and if they're doing the online courses, then they need to kind of factor in extra time for studying. Additionally, not everybody reads and understands instructions in the same way, so there is a bit of clarification needed occasionally. But I think more that we work with professors, and the more that we have people working on the course designs, I think that that has come a long way in the past years, especially. Having feedback is always helpful for the students as well as for the professors. Being in the CBE program, and especially in the accelerated program, some of the students expect immediate response, and one of our professors receiving 100 emails a day, the response may not be 10 minutes after a student replies to an email. So I think some of the faculty have that challenge of meeting every student's expectations, and none of us can work 24 hours a day, although students, I guess, sometimes think that we do, but we always want to get back to them as soon as possible. I know that I am guilty of definitely answering emails after hours and on weekends, just to sometimes ease that anxiety that they might be feeling, and letting them know, especially if they have like a deadline. I know which professors are very strict about deadlines and which ones are a little bit more flexible, and I can tell them, if they email me over the weekend, hey, I had a question and I haven't heard back yet, and if they're panicked because the deadline is approaching, then I can let them know either they can obtain assistance perhaps at one of our tutoring centers, or if I know that the professor is a little bit more lenient with their deadline, I can say, don't panic, don't worry, he'll understand, and that you can still submit your assignment and receive full credit. So it is a balancing act. We all have busy schedules, we all have lives, and so I think just making sure we manage our time and manage our students is always a challenge for everyone. I do have a really good rapport with several of our professors that teach our CBE courses. If we have students falling behind, or if they haven't checked in, perhaps they haven't gone online in a while, the professors will contact me, and then I reach out to the students as well, just to kind of make sure everything's going okay. And then for some reason there seems to be more of a relaxed environment or relationship between me and the student, and they'll let me know kind of what's going on. Maybe they don't feel comfortable relaying that information to the professor, but I always reiterate to them that it's very important that they communicate with professors and let them know if there's something that's come up that's causing delays. Just this past semester we had a student who had previously taken a classroom section, did exceptionally well, and for scheduling reasons he was taking a CBE course online, and he was struggling, and the professor and I were really trying to figure out a solution for him. And I just offered the simple fact, hey, go to the classroom, sit in the lecture if you could make it. You don't have to go every day, but attend and see if that helps. And the professor was completely open to that because he was still teaching the classroom section. The student was able to attend the classroom section. He may have not been able to do all the labs because the limitation of workstations, but he was there to get the lecture, and he was successful. He ended up making it in the course. So we try to find good solutions. Some of my challenges as a student support specialist in the program are the fact that I literally have to register every student. Having so many courses out there and available, the courses for our program are restricted. We only want the people that have been accepted to our program to be eligible to register, but we also have other departments in the college that have restricted sections. So you can't necessarily flag a student to say, hey, you can either allow to register for restricted sections. So I have to communicate and reiterate to students that I have to register them. People will be accepted to the program, and I register them while they're in my office, and then the next semester, like, hey, I'm in the program, why can't I register? And I put it in email, and I talk about it when they're in my office, but it's one of those things that I have to remind them, but it also is rather time consuming for me as well. But it's a good and it's a bad. I like having that access or that duty in a way, because it keeps me on top of what courses the students are taking. It helps me catch them taking classes they don't need. And I can't tell you the number of times I've caught students wanting to take a programming elective level 1, and they've already maxed out on it, and they really need programming elective level 2. Or taking a course, that I mentioned maybe before, like taking a course in the spring that, and then having a course remaining that won't be offered in the summer. So it's things like that. While it's one of those things that's time consuming and it's not the best use of my time, it does have its benefits. So I'm sure, if I didn't have to do that, I would be writing reports all the time and reviewing the reports anyway. So there would be a way for me to make sure I stay on top of that, because that's, monumental to the success of our students. In terms of data for students, how I track students, I have actually several ways. I have the old school. I actually literally keep a file on every single student, so I have a hard copy. I literally put their ward plan in their file, and every time I correspond or register a student, I have that file out and I highlight it. They're completing this class, or it's a visual hard copy for me, but in addition to that, I keep a massive spreadsheet, and that it's very color-coded. It tells me what semester they've started. It tells me the first page is pretty much what I call the all, anyone who has been accepted to the program. And I keep the demographics, their name, the current semester that they're registered in, their contact information, email, phone number, as well as their award tracks and what classes they're currently taking. Then I have several other tabs on that. However, I use that report all the time because I receive reports from our data person, and I compare those. He gets those from our registration system every week, and he sends that to me. And I use a program that I created, and I take my Excel spreadsheet and I take the report that is sent to me. I compare them, and it'll let me know if anybody has dropped a course over the semester, and I can then reach out to that student and find out maybe why they've dropped if they haven't informed me ahead of time. And just check in on them and find out what are they going to re-register. Perhaps they dropped a 16 weeks, something came up, but they can still re-register and take the course in the 12 or 8-week sessions if possible. It also gives me an opportunity to get feedback from students if something's going on with that particular course. And I also use Salesforce. Salesforce is another tool that I like to utilize for the Women in IT program. I use it. It tells me who all my current students are, who my prospective leads are, and it gives me a tool to reach out to students when we're having information sessions if they haven't been accepted to the program but they want to learn more about the program. So I have a lot of different tools I utilize on a regular basis. I pretty much open all those every single day. It's very important for me, as well for the student, that they get credit for any prior learning. This includes previous college education, military training, or certifications. During the interview process, if I know that the person has a higher education degree, bachelor's degree, that our college will not automatically evaluate those transcripts. So I literally have a little gold orange piece of paper that gives them written instructions that inform them they need to go to admissions and records, they need to complete the transfer credit evaluation request form, and that once they've done that, once it's been evaluated, they'll receive an email confirmation, and after they receive that confirmation, to notify me, and then we can both review what they have received credit for. But then I don't stop there. I take a look at the courses that they completed. Maybe college algebra is a requirement for their degree, and they've taken pre-calculus. I then take that and substitute the course in for them. Sometimes the numbering might be a little different. They might number a course for Program Fundamentals 1. Most of our award plans require COSC 1336. Sometimes the student will have taken a course, but for whatever reason, the evaluation person will code it COSC 1315, so therefore it won't automatically apply. The student and I will discuss the course, find out what the course curriculum was, and if it's appropriate, then we submit the substitution. Again, because we don't want students repeating courses, having to pay out of pocket for something they already know, and sometimes they feel like it's a little bit of a waste for them. And so it's I think students really appreciate that, knowing that someone is looking into that and really making an effort for them. For an institution looking to start a CBU program, from my perspective as a student sports specialist, academic coach, there's a couple key things. Really important. Don't overload your student sports specialists. Having too many students is really just going to defeat the purpose. I have an enormous amount of students, and I feel the strain sometimes, but I want to make sure everybody gets the attention that they need. And I think that having someone who is approachable, someone who has a passion for helping students, and who understands that what students are trying to accomplish, you want to look for the right person. So having a key person who cares and really wants to help others succeed is something that you should look for in someone that you're wanting to put in this position. One of my happiest times is going to graduation. So having the right person in the position, having a passion for others' success is key. And again, not overloading them. And I think everybody's balance having someone who can balance a lot of tasks at one time is very important as well. But having a proper structure, I know when I started with the CBA program, there wasn't a lot of structure set up for the student support specialist, and I kind of designed the interview process, which really made a big impact in our ability to see the right people when we did the interview sessions, screening out the people that were inappropriate, and then whenever the candidate came in, we had their interview packet ready for them. And utilizing or maximizing our time. They would spend probably a day prior to me establishing sort of a standardized interview process. They would spend a day interviewing and maybe come out with 8 or 10 people in the program. And after we put this new process in place, we were accepting somewhere between 20 and 25 people after 1 day of interview session. So it more than doubled our acceptance rates. So having a person who has a passion for helping students and someone who can multitask and who's organized, but knows when to take time to step back and listen to a student when they're really reaching out is important. And I think that's important because for me, helping them through these steps is rewarding. But the most rewarding thing for me is seeing them graduate.